So I end up getting my face tatted, something happens, and then 3 months later, I go through the first removal session. I end up getting this massive scab. It went horrible. And I walked around with this regret on my face, knowing that I had to avoid sun. I literally had to wear a hood everywhere I went. And I felt hopeless and lost, but something had happened, and that switched my mind. I began to see it not as regret, but resistance. Instead of it being a conflict, there was something in it that allowed for congruence. And the way I found meaning through all the suffering. If you're creative or someone taking the road less traveled, this video is gonna hit so hard. So back in 2021, I just got accepted into my PhD. I had a vision for myself that I wanted to be the rockstar academic. I wanted to be someone who was both intellectual and academic, but I also had the style, the swagger. I seen myself as the creative person. I seen full tattoos. I see myself being jacked. I always wanted the long hair. I always wanted the piercings, but I always wanted a face tattoo. Back then, like 5 years ago, it was slowly coming into style, but I said, yo, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna go all the way. And my soul was telling me to go get it. Like, I already had my career kind of set up for the next several years, and I was like, yo, this is gonna complete the puzzle. I'm gonna be so good as an academic. People will respect my hustle. I actually have a video back right before I got the tattoo to describe my mindset. June 15, 2021, I just booked my face tattoo. I will be getting a red dragon right across my face, down to my neck. And you know, it did cross my mind. What about, how are people going to see me? What about future jobs? I wanted to be a professor at least some part of my life. Am I saying that, yo, everyone go out and get a face tattoo? No. But I'm saying that if you put in the work and you just believe in yourself, do what you believe in. Doesn't matter what anyone else thinks. Go for it. Keep in mind, at this time, I'm in my early 20s and I'm full of conviction. Literally, my creativity is at its peak. Like, I'm chasing for the stars, man. Anyways, I go to Montreal and I get my face blasted. I get this tattoo and we start cooking up together a bunch of other visions, how I'm gonna get the rest of my body done and stuff. And I was so excited. But then something happened right after. I started to get a lot of pushback. And I wasn't expecting this. Like, you would think that your friends and the people around you would endorse your vision. And it was almost like people were trying to push the limitations onto me. I had someone tell me like, yo, now the tattoo removal technology is so good, bro. You could easily get that removed. Yo, think of it as a lesson. And like, that was the first gut instinct people were telling me. Like, yo, how are you gonna get a career? How are you gonna do this? How are you gonna do that? And like, I came from a perspective that I know what's gonna work. And I got so much backlash, yo. And as I look back at it now, what happened was that people were beginning to disrupt my creative mindset. Our internal conversations becomes external manifestations. My inward conversations were powerful. They were strong. They were creative. They were congruent. I felt unstoppable. And then I let other people come into my mindset, into my internal world, and stir up my conversations. I began to doubt myself, yo. I was like, man, maybe this wasn't smart. And there's already a stigma behind face tattoos. So I'm thinking like, yo, like, did I just screw up my entire job offers? Well, I know I have a PhD for the next several years. So maybe if I get the removal now, it will be gone by the time I look to get a job. I really scared myself out of my congruence. I had such a clear vision back in 2021. And I just internalized other people's limitations. I have this deep sense of regret. I moved to Montreal and I'm alone by myself. And I say, you know what? Maybe people were right. So what I began to do is search online for tattoo removals. One of the big issues is that when you have brown skin and especially red ink, you have to be really careful of the tattoo removal machine not damaging the skin. Because red is kind of close to brown, the fear is that you develop hypopigmentation where the laser sees both the brown skin and the red skin as one. So what happens is that underneath, the whole thing will become white. And that was my biggest fear. And when you're on like tattoo removal Reddit, yo, you see so many horror stories. I was so afraid and no one understood the struggle around me. Like, it's super difficult to explain your creative vision. To other people, it might seem insane. Like, why would you do that? Like, why would you get a face tat? But like, us creators, we know like it felt right. Like, I'm doing the right thing. I'm following my intuition. It's not gonna make sense to the average person. Squares cannot understand stars. When you're taking the road less traveled, of course people are not gonna understand because they're taking the road traveled. Yo, like, I got gaslighted out of my vision, man. So anyways, I find a place, I get lasered up, I come home and I have this massive bandage. I look like an idiot, yo. I'm walking around with this massive bandage on the side of my face, looking like Frankenstein, yo. And then the next day, I have this huge scab. And I was spooked, yo. Like the side of my face was all scabbed up. I'll throw up an image. If you hit skip right now, you can move past it if you're wheezy about stuff like this. But yo, like you see it, right? And I'm walking around this with the side of my face, and the fear is that if I ding the scab, like it might damage my face. It might have those white spots. The scab is like protecting the white spots, and I'm just afraid that I don't want this face tattoo that I'm trying to get removed filled with like white skin underneath, because then it's like, why would I even get it removed in the first place, right? It's gonna end up garnering more attention, and I'm trying to get the opposite. As the days go on, I start seeing the white skin, and it's a lot. And yo, I'll throw up another image here. You could skip again, but I don't know what to do. And this is not really like a medical thing, so there's not like really strict advice. The kind of things I'm seeing online is like, yo, let the skin go completely white and then get another like pigmentation tattoo on. Like, I'm like, yo, dog, I am not trying to do any of this. So I'm a nervous mess. And kind of the general consensus online is that the most important thing is to avoid sun, because if that sun catches that white skin that's on my brown skin, it's gonna make the white spots permanent. When it comes to your body, I am not taking a risk, especially my face. I said, okay, in that case, I can't put trust into sunscreen. I need to just avoid the sun. I start rocking a hood everywhere I go, yo. And my whole life becomes a museum filled with artifacts of my fears. I start going out only when it's sunset and nighttime afterwards. I stay home all day. I'm rocking a hood if I really need to go somewhere. I have long hair, so I was able to cover up a bit, but I was so afraid of like that sunlight hitting it. This entire time, I'm so stressed out. I began binge eating heavily, yo. It was my only way to cope. Like I felt hopeless. I felt like I'm trying to get this tattoo removal thing done and it's messing up even worse, and I have no other option. I felt so powerless and I felt afraid, and there's not a lot of information on this kind of thing online. I binge eat. I spend so much money on Uber Eats, man. I really betrayed myself. In this moment, it was an inappropriate use of my imagination. I did more harm to myself than I ever could do in this lifetime. I've just betrayed my creativity. And there I was trying to pick up the pieces, trying to like mold myself around this professional image. I didn't want to be this person. We're creators, we're supposed to express ourselves, and here I was pressing who I truly was, hiding it with a hood and walking around like that was okay. And if you're an authentic person, like, you know your vibe's not right, man. You know you're incongruent, you know you're imbalanced. So this whole time in my life, it was such a blur, and especially because of the fact that I was dealing with a whole bunch of issues at the time, but this was one of the main things that was bothering me, because I also felt that it was so avoidable, and that shame that came from that was just wild, man, because I felt like, why did I have to get a face tattoo? Like, I didn't have to do this. Like, I could have got everything else tatted up. And yo, I like began to like just violate my own creative vision over and over and over, sitting in regret, wondering like, look how different my life could have been. I didn't have to rock a hood everywhere. I didn't have to rob myself of experiences. Like, I could have had such a different trajectory in my life if I didn't get this stupid face tattoo. And you already know the lore behind face tats. Like, people are like, yo, they're bad, you know, there's stigma and all those things. So all those like societal ideas are compounding in my mind. So in those moments where I'm binge eating, I'm seeing my whole life just fall apart right in front of me. It's uncontrollable, man. I'm like an addict, yo. So at this time, I'm looking for a way out, and I stumble across authors like Joe Dispenza, Neville Goddard, Viktor Frankl, Brianna Weiss, people who were very interested in self-sabotage, who were interested in adversity and conflict and moving past it. It was like a synchronicity moment. Like, this was like my dark night of the soul, but I also had like the spiritual awakening in this moment, because I began to intuit some of the wisdom that was inside of these books. Like, I was reading a lot of these books and they were confirming the kind of ideas that I had inside of my mind. For whatever reason, these ideas about purpose and falling in love with your vision and alignment and congruence and going for the road less traveled and becoming everything you were meant to be and dimensionally making yourself larger than you could possibly imagine. Like, those ideas began to make so much sense to me because I was really suffering in that moment. And that was my major pivot in this journey to begin to reframe myself. I began to fall in love back with my vision. I began to just rebuild my life. I started to go to the gym. I started to eat healthier. And it was almost like it was effortless because I was living in the wish fulfilled. I seen myself in a different light. I seen myself as the rock star. Like, okay, I had this adversity, but yo, like, look what it taught me. It taught me to go even harder on the vision. When other people try to impress their limitations on me, I could move away from it with grace and elegance. So I start to psychologically transform because my internal conversations begin to change. And because your internal conversations become outward manifestations, my world started to bend. Like, the world had literally become my mirror. Now, I did still want to get this removed. It wasn't like overnight I'm like, okay, now I'm gonna keep the tat. No. I found a place in Toronto and I was commuting back and forth and getting these tattoo removal sessions like once every 4 months or so, and that was going well. And this person was more well known, so they knew what they were doing, but it was so wild because it felt wrong. I felt that I'm still covering up a bit. I'm more cautious. I'm not wearing no hoodie and balaclava in the summer, but I'm still concerned about the sun. I'm still not free falling into my fantasy. The moment where I said that I'm never gonna go to these tattoo removal sessions again was actually on my trip in Morocco. If you see episode 1 of the Creative Resistance series, I was in the Sahara, and to be honest with you, like, I was so tired of putting on sunscreen every day. Like, the sun is up all the time. You gotta reapply every 2 hours. And I'm like, yo, I can't keep doing this for the rest of my life. And I think because I was in nature, I was in this isolated desert dune area, I really began to hear my inner voice quite loud. And I couldn't help but witness these thoughts that were just saying, yo, you have to dissolve in your destiny. You gotta go and take it as far as you can. So the title of this video is How to Find Meaning in the Suffering. For me, that's falling in love with your creative vision. Viktor Frankl has a quote, and I'll put it up here. What he's saying is fall in love with that vision. And the moment I started doing that, the workouts became effortless. The eating healthy became effortless because it all made sense. It felt as though I was putting a deposit. Every single time I did that, I was putting a deposit into making my highest dream, my own intuition, come to reality. I'm a big believer in following your North Star. A lot of us have a numbed North Star. So after I look back now at this face tattoo, I end up getting a sense of regret. I scared myself, listened to other people, and I still got nowhere. Like, the tattoo removals that I was getting, like, it didn't change anything. It looks the exact same. And all that was just time wasted. I didn't need to wear a hood everywhere I went. I could have been living more bolder and more lively and doing my thing. Instead of putting all my energy on fears and what other people think, I could have recycled it all back into my goals, into my vision. Man, I could have been a star, but instead I chose to be a square. Hopefully out of this video, what you can get is to find meaning in the suffering through your creative vision. Not going into the gym with a sense of shame and then trying to pound it out on the weights. No, I'm talking about falling in love with your highest self, going to the gym because it's an act of congruence, eating healthy because it's an act of congruence, because it's out of self-love. That's true power. That's changing your internal conversation so it's loving, so it's powerful, so you can put yourself in a position where you can give your greatest gifts to the world, not these superficial things. I was really afraid to speak about this story. I felt a lot of shame and guilt. I felt like it's just something small and stupid. Why would I get that tattoo? But yo, to me, the creative act is living your deepest truth, and only the truth can set you free. Let's go.